Hey everyone, really got to get stuck into working on Paddy. He's got a few things that have been overhanging for a while. He's got a couple of big trips coming up, nearly in the next 12 months actually. A few weeks he's going on a big road trip down to Tassie, around Tassie and back. Mid next year he's back to Cape York for his second trip. So there's a lot of little things that need to be done, and there's a few major things which is just ages caught up to him and they need to be sorted out. So it's nearly like we need to get on top of these things now for really the next two trips. The major ones is the drive shaft centre bearing. Got a new one of those. It's probably about 7 or 8 years old. Starting to notice a tiny vibration. It's a hell of a bearing in it though, so it's not like something's going to fail. It's just going to start getting slowly worse. The cab mounts I put at the front when I did the chassis stretch, starting to deteriorate a bit more. This one's probably better than the other side. He's a lot worse. Now my engineer fella, he wasn't happy when I did it like this. I put him on top where conventional is C-sections up the side. He said don't ever do that again. Personally it's not so much about the strength thing, because we haven't actually touched the side plate, where if you start welding on that you can actually introduce cracking, and that's why I went that way. It's more about what he's concerned about is the rust issue. So there's a high chance we're going to cut these off. We might have to just put a new plate on top, and I've got some C-section steel which is quite big. We'll bring that up to meet the original mounts and tie in this strap bar that I actually put that runs as far as it can all the way along the top of my chassis rail. He wanted just a strap underneath the chassis, which I've done, but I've then put the strap on top to strengthen the actual joint in the chassis and to tie in the cab mount, so it sort of transfers all the twists and the weight of a canopy up along the chassis rail as far as it can. So I mean it's lasted this long and it's done some hell of a trips and off-roading, so she survived pretty good. So yes, so that's going to be first things first. The job I'm not really looking forward to the most is what we're going to start with is get the jack underneath, try and take the weight of the canopy, maybe chock the canopy on the chassis here, or the tower brace to support it, and then we can chop these out, make up our new mounts and weld them in, and then that's done. Also got a big 4-inch exhaust. We're going to extend that out and out the back. We might be starting on that today too by the looks, if we've got some more time. But first of all, mounts, then bearing, then exhaust. There's a lot of little things. I've got a roof rack we're making. I've got the new light bar to go in the front. We're actually mounting the swing out shower awning that I've got up here on the side of a roof rack when that turns up in about a week. Just getting a custom made, getting some alloy folded, and I'm going to custom make my own platform version. And wrap to coat it like the canopy. We'll have some little LED side mounts in it. I've got some new LEDs for the back reverse lights. They're not working. I'm not sure if that's a wiring issue. When old mate did the auto rebuild in it, whether or not he's left the wiring off or fuse blown or something, so we've got to see if we can actually get them going again. We've got this thing over here which I bought ages ago, which I've been meaning to actually put in it. And that's one of those little control panel things that I can hook the awning lights onto, my spotty on the roof, probably the actual front locker, compressor, maybe rear lights if that's going to go that way, because I wouldn't mind being able to turn them on willy-nilly instead of just on reverse, because that'll be handy. Or I might even just mount a separate one up there, I'm not sure yet. So lots of little things. We've got a little UHF coming for it, which will just be good for a long trip down to Tassie. A little bit of entertainment value there, listening to the truckies, I guess. But lots of little things that need doing, lots of big things. It's one of those things I sort of feel like the big jobs are going to turn into the small jobs, and the small jobs are going to turn into the big jobs. Well, I'm talking because I don't really want to start, but we need to get stuck into doing something, so let's crack out the jack. Got the old mounts out completely. Got the cab lowered down to position to try and find that even gap. I think originally I may have had the canopy tilting back a little bit. Now it's starting to get exaggerated a lot with the rooftop tent. Looks a bit weird. So I've lowered it down to a place. I've got one mount made up. So we're going to try and tack weld that in. Intentionally tried to make it a little bit lower because I can always put a packer in to bring the canopy up if I need to. I just can't lower it down. So the next tricky bit is trying to get in here to weld the new bracket on. So we'll sit it in place, see if we can get some tacks in at least, and then see what we can do, because I don't want to take the canopy off. It's too much work. So we'll see how this works out. Got one new mount in, the new revised version. So just gone for the same place we were before. It's just where I had the last mount. We might as well put the other one back where it was. Funnily enough, a metal actually wasn't so bad underneath the mount on the chassis. It was actually quite good, and I wasn't going to stress about it too much because that's a big 6mm by 100mm C-channel that's actually wrapping around any possible rust issues. So it's just adding strength back to that part of the chassis anyway. So yeah, so she's all mounted in this side, so we've just got to go the other side, clean up all the dags there and make up a new mount and put that one in. Alright, all the mounts are done. A bit worn out from it actually. Took me most of the day to get the mount sorted out, and then I went underneath and tidied up a little bit of a chassis and some other little issues under there, but we can sort of see using the C-section now, weld it back onto my forward running brace. Still got to cut this wire and pull that bar out because I'm not using that anymore. Don't know what that is. That's something I wired in originally. I don't know where it goes or what it does, but we've got to cut that and join it back together again and make that work. What we've started on also too, because I've pushed the car outside because the shed's a bit of a shambles at the moment. I've pushed the car outside so we can actually do this, so I don't have to move it in and out because it'd be a bit hard to have the drive shaft pulled out. But we've started on the CV joint, or the centre bearing I should say. So we've got the drive shaft hanging, actually up to the stage. Got the spline of a flange off. Now I only just got to undo the bolts, and hopefully that just slides off. I've never really done a centre bearing before, so that's what we're up to. Laying in the gravel in the cold, changing that over. So I'll grab some sockets and see if all that goes easy, and hopefully the centre bearing I'm being given is the actual correct one, which is the next issue, which I haven't checked yet. But it's got to be done, and while we're under here we're going to try and chuck the sub tank back in too, and get that at least sitting there. I need to get new bolts for the canopy, so Paddy won't be driving anywhere too soon. So we'll get all that bolted in, we'll get the tank bolted in, but at least if it's sitting there and maybe plumbed in, that's a bit of a head start anyway. So let's go find a socket. Sort of feel like we're going to need to go buy ourselves a puller for this one. We've got these caps on the drive shaft, but they've actually spot welded this onto my drive shaft, so I don't really want to upset that cap by bashing it. So I think we're going to need to go buy ourselves a puller. So we've got the front canopy mounts done. Nice big C-sections so they won't actually trap any more crap in them. Fairly heavy duty as well. We've got the centre bearing now in. We've got the sub tank pushed into place. Got a couple of factory bolts in holding that at the moment. But I want to go get all new nuts and bolts for the canopy mounts and for the drive shaft, and we'll also get some new bolts for the front of a sub tank as well. So that's the only thing that's sort of finishing those jobs off at the moment. But apart from that, it hasn't gone too bad. It's a fairly big thing ticked off the list to get all them done really. So sort of I'll pick up those bolts and the sub tank, some of those, the filler hose and the I think it's the breather hose. They're quite like gone off. Rubber's very hard, and when you're trying to get your hands up into those places to try and push the hose on, they're just they're not going on. So I'm just going to probably go while I'm in that bolt shop. I'll see if I can get new hoses of them and put them on some clamps. So, and the only other problem I've got is this originally was a TB45. It's been converted to TD now. So what we've done is I've gone out and bought a diesel sub tank. The original TB45 sub tank actually has the fuel pump built into the tank, where I noticed when I was pulling the tank out of a diesel truck car, the actual pump was on the outside. So it's sort of one of those things is a bit like, I sort of wish I got the TB45 tank now, because everyone would have just wired up and plumbed in. I do have a spare low pressure fuel pump laying around here though, which I think we're just going to have to plumb on, and whether or not I just wire that in separately, because also too of the wiring out of my original plug on the Patrol, two of the wires have snapped off, and for the ECU of the actual fuel tanks to read everything correctly, that plug needs to be plugged onto the tank to read the fuel level in it, and also to gauge the fuel level in the main tank, so it knows when to turn on and turn off, sort of thing. So I've got a little bit of room. I can pull that plug back and see if I can actually join those wires on, but the wires have snapped off pretty much on the plug, so I'm not liking my chances of that. I'd like the gauge to be working though, so just gonna have to pull the plug back and just see if we can actually get it to work. If I can, I'll just wire an external pump onto the wiring and make that my transfer pump from now on. We've got a Raceworks low volume one there, so we might just bolt that on the outside. But first things first, we'll get it all plumbed in, and then we'll try and tackle that next job. So, which I wasn't really wanting extra work on top of more work, but that's how it goes. But good success so far with everything we've done. So we'll pick up those bolts and those hoses and try and get him all buttoned up and take him for a test drive.